Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Crisp, the podcast. I am Matthew Farrenby and I'm here with my dad.
Sunny Farrenby.
And yeah, it looks like we can jump right into it here. What was that first topic you put here?
Well, it's something that is trending as we're recording this about, what was the guy's name? Scott Adams, the creator of the Dilbert Cartoon, which has been around for more than 30 years, I think. And some of the rant, the racist rant he went on. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard a little bit about it. I also saw, I think it was on a little bit on the Daily Show. They talked about it too.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I think I recognize the cartoon a little bit, but it's not actually like a TV show cartoon, isn't it? Like news?
No, it's not. It's a newspaper cartoon.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's a newspaper cartoon. But I think maybe a few years ago they actually had the TV show for a short time based on the characters in the Dilbert character. But I think that was canceled. But it's been around, like I said, maybe 33, 34 years or so in newspapers. So I guess these days we don't have a lot of printed newspapers anymore. Right. They are not as common. There are still, but they are not as common. But it's usually a Dilbert cartoon. It's supposed to be an engineer and something in the workplace. So there's always some funny clips about what's going on in the workplace with the Dilbert cartoon. So
yes. So for those of the people who might not know, do you want to explain exactly what happened with that?
Oh, well, the creator of the Dilbert cartoon, this guy named Scott Adams, seems to... He has a YouTube podcast or something like that. Yeah, I think it's a podcast. And in his last episode, he just went on this racist rant about... it says something about white people should get away from black people because black people are a hate group or something like that.
Yeah, so I think from what I remember, he was like reading an article or some type of poll that it said like about like half of black people don't agree with the statement of
it's okay to be white.
It's okay to be white. Yeah, exactly. And then he went on from there to say like we should get away from black people, and then he took it further to say, yeah, I don't even live around like a lot of black people or any black people, and all this stuff. So
yeah, it's kind of interesting. I dig a little bit deeper about the poll, and it looked like that was actually people who are familiar with the term, it's okay to be white. It's something that they say some hate groups in the past have used to be able to kind of catch people in something, saying something, or I'm not sure exactly how it is, but it was something that people who are aware of it, they actually try not to engage with it. They try not to engage with it because it was like kind of it was like a trap. Because the full meaning behind "it's okay to be white" was not fully disclosed. So it's like people do not have enough information. So they're asking. They just say it's okay to be white, then say yes or no. And the result of the poll said that I'm not even sure it's a majority. I don't think it's a majority. But there's quite a number of black people who says no to that. And then that's what he focused on that and said, this is a proof. Black people are racist. White people should get away from black people.
Wow.
It's
even the wording, like you said, of how it says it's okay to be white and then say yes or no.
Yeah, I think so.
Is more confusing than like saying the actual term itself. It's okay to be white.
I think that's the thing, and I believe from what I read, there are some supremacist groups in the past, even some Nazi groups in the past who have tried to use that to try to paint some people as being against them. So I think that's the premise of it. So people who are aware of that, they kind of desist from engaging in that poll.
Right.
But I guess this guy didn't either he didn't dig enough, he didn't fully understand what was going on, and he just took the result of the poll and then ran with it. But the thing though is that is the fallout. That was actually I was much more interested in. From what I hear, hundreds, and there are hundreds of newspapers all over the country who normally carry this Dilbert Cartoon character. They have all dropped, most of them, within overnight. They have dropped. They have dropped it. I understand he had a book coming up about to be published. The publisher dropped the book. A few other things, and I was actually reading an interview with the Washington Post that he did, and he said he was shocked. He was shocked that it's having the kind of effect that it's having. He said it was supposed to be like a hyperbole or something, but I doubt that. I don't know from.
Yeah, I didn't see the full podcast, but the clips I saw, it seemed like a more definitive statements that he was making.
I agree. I saw the clip too. So I don't think it's hyperbole like he was trying to make it look like. But now he's saying that it is an hyperbole and just an exaggeration. But when we should look at his expression, the way he was talking in that clip, it didn't seem like it at all. But anyway, so the fallout is he's been cancelled, if I can just use that term. And he's surprised. He's saying he's surprised that could be the situation. I don't know how anyone could be surprised.
Especially in today's climate, too.
In the kind of climate we're in, I don't know how anyone could be surprised that something like that will happen. So.
Oh, yeah, and I just thought of something. It's not in the notes, but totally unrelated. Did you hear about it was kind of a rumor with Adidas and Kanye, what was happening? There's like some recent news about like a week ago or a few days ago that I heard.
Well, I think what I heard, I don't know if it's the same one you're talking about. What I heard was what Adidas was thinking of what they were going to do with all the stock of Kanye's.
They have like hundreds of millions, if not like up to $1 billion worth
of products.
Of like Yeezy, which is like his brand that they can't sell. But yeah, basically they said they were going to hire him back.
Oh, really?
In order to keep that Yeezy name, because I think the contract they signed, they technically can't use that branding, and that branding is what everyone is paying for anyway. So no one's gonna buy it, even if they have the same. I don't think they can use the same designs either
without the name.
But even if they use the designs, they use like similar designs already. Most people are not buying it because it's not the name. That's the reason they.
Okay,
they buy
here's
it.
what I don't get. When they say they are bringing him back, is it because there is still a demand for those products?
I heard that the demand for his the Yeezy stuff has gone up.
Oh, because Adidas stopped it, I guess. So it now becomes
I'm not sure the reasoning behind it, but yeah,
it's
gone.
It has to be when supply is low, demand goes up. Okay.
And it's still a rumor. I don't think either Kanye or Adidas confirmed anything like that. But I saw there was a bunch of like articles and like people talking about how he might be hired back. So,
well, they want to. No, losing $1 billion, it's not a small thing. So maybe they just want to bring him back to sell the stock of what they have. I don't know, but you never know.
Yeah.
All right. So what's our main thing we're talking about today?
Oh, so it looks like we need to talk about tipping and how.
Yeah. This is very interesting. I came across this. It was a news item that just caught my attention about a few days ago. About a DoorDash driver. That's a delivery driver who was about to deliver somebody's meal. And I actually went, not too long ago, I went to watch what do they call this? Doorbell camera.
Yeah.
That caught it. I thought there was actually a face-to-face with it between the two of them, the driver and the person who did the meal, but it wasn't. The person was talking through the
camera.
Through the camera. So she rang the bell, and instead of just delivering the food, she said the guy needs to come to the door. She wants to talk to him face to face. And the guy said, well, why is that? And she said something like, I don't think you know how far your house is from the restaurant, that it's very far. And the guy said, okay, so what has that got to do with anything? He said, well, I need to talk to you face to face so you can adjust the tip. And the guy said, I added $8 tip.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it's not enough, that it took her 45 minutes or so to drive to his house. And the guy was saying, no, it's only about 20 to 25 minutes. And the lady said, no, it was 45 minutes. And the $8 tip that he included is too small, and that he needed to come. What actually blew my mind, the whole of this, after the exchange, was the guy said, no, just leave my food by the door. And she said, no, I'm going to return the food. And she walked away. She
Even
actually walked
after,
away.
after 40 minutes, your food is probably cold anyway. So, yeah.
That was kind of surprising to me, that she actually walked back out. The camera showed her walk back all the way to her car. That, okay, I'm going to return the food. So it began a series of questions in my head about tipping.
Yeah, and even besides that, the first few sentences in this article says, it says they made a 40-minute trip to deliver the food after discovering he had tipped just $8 for a 12.5-mile trip. But for two things, because I think they said, I don't know if it says what delivery. Oh, DoorDash, yeah. Because I use Uber Eats and DoorDash sometimes, and usually you tip depending on what you've ordered.
Yeah,
not how far the restaurant is from you.
Based on the value of your food, right?
Yeah,
the price of
so
your
sometimes the delivery fee might be higher if it's further away or something. But I think that's usually set by the restaurant or set by something in the app. So it doesn't say. I don't know if they just didn't want to show how much
they didn't say how much it was.
Because even if it was 15%, $8 is
That's true. That's right. Actually, I didn't think of that. So $8. If it was maybe $80, would be 10%. That would be 10%.
Because typically, I don't know if he was ordering for multiple people, if it was just for himself, but for one person, usually it's between $30 to $40 at most.
Yeah, maybe even
if
less.
You're getting after all the fees, because it was
after
all the fees. So $30 to $40. So even that, it would be for $40 would be
20%.
20%. Yeah, which is reasonable for something like that, if not more than the 15% that's sometimes usually the norm in some places. So
that was kind of interesting to me about tips. And I know that over the last 2-3 years with COVID and people using the delivery service like DoorDash, Uber Eats, and so on, I have heard some stories about tipping becomes much more important for the people who deliver. But here's the thing, though. You mentioned the delivery fee, because when you order from them, there's a delivery fee included in your order, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doesn't part of that fee, I'm thinking, not all of it, but does not part of it go to the delivery driver?
I would think so. I don't know if it's part of the fee or if it's just a percentage of the order or how it works. But they're getting paid for doing that regardless of the extra tip. That's
exactly what I don't understand, because I would think the delivery fee, definitely most of it, if not all of it, most of it should go to the person who is delivering the food. So I'm guessing they are already being paid. They are not they are not being paid solely from the tips. I know that a lot of service workers, they rely on the tips. They get a lot from the tips. But it was just very interesting to me that something like that happened. So first of all, why not talk about, is it even necessary to give tips to service workers?
Yeah, that's always been the heated question, because at least in the U.S., tipping is the norm, and especially companies here use that to pay their the servers or bartenders or whoever less, because the tip is expected. Just so I know, there's like a lot of like servers and stuff who get paid way below the minimum wage, just because tipping is like the norm here.
I was your mom and I went to a restaurant on Friday, and she was telling me about somebody that she knew that talked about depending on the kind of restaurant where you work, you can get tips. There are some they can take home $300 a day in tips, each person that works there. And so definitely they rely on tips. Yeah, but I agree. I think it's just simple courtesy. I don't know. I don't think there's a law for or against it. Yeah, there isn't, I think, but it's just simple courtesy to appreciate the people who serve, and it's not just at restaurants, right? It's in a lot of places. But it seems in the food industry, whether it's restaurants or food delivery, is where it's a big thing. Where you must you are expected
It's
to
almost expected whether the service is good or bad nowadays. It
Yeah.
seems. Yeah.
No, but that's the thing, though. That's the thing. So, if the service is not good, will you tip?
I usually still tip either way, just because. I mean,
Does it affect does the quality of service you get affect how much you tip?
yeah, probably a little bit. I'm not usually one that tips a lot, but usually between like 15 to 20%. So either way, I'll usually do that. And I feel like there's a lot of, well, there's not too many factors, but sometimes like if the food takes long, it's not like the server that's making the food anyway. So that shouldn't really affect your tip. But this can be other factors that come into play.
Well, having said that, though, the tips and I don't know if you know this, because I don't think you've worked in a restaurant before. But the tips, is it shared only by the servers, or the cooks also get part of it?
Yeah, so it depends. I know for some of the people who like bus tables and stuff, because since I used to work for a company that made the point of sale devices for restaurants, I know a little bit about it, even though I didn't work in a restaurant directly. So sometimes they tip out, so they like split the tips among like sometimes the other servers or just the other like bus boys. So like the people who are like cleaning tables and stuff.
But not the cook.
I don't think the cook. I think the cooks usually have like their regular salary or something.
Okay, so maybe the cooks are usually better paid, maybe.
Yeah, in my experience, I think they are.
Than the waiters and people who bust the tables. Now that's a funny thing, interesting. You the reason I asked that, you said, if the food is late in coming, it's not the fault of the person serving it, probably in the with the cook. But usually the person who is waiting on you, that's the person that you interact with. So whatever frustrations you have about the restaurant, most people will take it out on that person.
They direct it towards
So that's the thing. So you said usually tip between 15 and 20%. Is there a gold standard for tipping? Do you know? Is there what's normal?
I would say normal is 15. I feel like 15 is nowadays is like the bottom line, the minimum for a lot of people.
So that's the minimum, not the gold standard.
Yeah. I think 15 is like you should at least tip 15%, and then maybe like 18 to 20 is what you'll like tip if it's better, and you can always go like above that if you feel the need to.
Okay. Now, usually what I do, and like you said, I rarely tip 15. It's usually slightly higher, because what I do is that I mentally calculate the 15 and round it up. I never do tips with cents on it. I always round it up to the nearest dollar, or to the nearest dollar, or to the nearest multiple of $5, something like that. So usually I'll mentally calculate 15% and then round it up. Sometimes I do 20% and round it up, or sometimes I do 20% and round it down to the nearest dollar. So it may end up being 19 point something usually. So that's why I know for me it's usually between 15 and 20%. But there are other times when you may do more than $20. But can, if you do not tip enough, can the waiter or the waitress or the service provider, can they demand the higher tip? Just like this person in the camera. Are they supposed to?
I mean, there's no law that says they can or can't. But for me, if someone demanded a tip, I'll probably just not leave a tip just because they demanded it. It's like, just, you're not entitled to that. Yeah, it's something that most people will do out of the kindness of their heart, but that doesn't mean you deserve it every single time, I think.
Yeah, well, and maybe our listeners, maybe you can leave some comments behind for us on, what do you think is the gold standard for tipping? Is it a base minimum of 15%? Do you do more? Or do you do that occasionally, or do you do that frequently? What do you typically do? Maybe you can leave comments for us. Mm-hmm. But as we're discussing this, I remember, and I'm sure you know this, the story I told in Nothing Higher, in the book, about, because my mind went to that too. I'm talking, this was more than 20.
Oh, was that at
23 years
Thai
ago?
Place?
At the Thai place, a Thai place in St. Louis at the time, which the lady ran after me, literally ran after me. I finished eating. It's been just maybe a few months after we arrived in the United States. I went to lunch from work at the Thai place, and I finished my food. I paid my bill, and I already walked out. I was just opened the door, about to get into my car to drive away, when I felt the tap on my shoulder, and there was a lady who served me and said, she's a Thai lady, so she was kind of a little bit forceful also. She was not diplomatic about it.
Yeah.
And that was actually what shocked me. She said, you didn't add a tip. And I said, yeah, I didn't add a tip. I did not put a tip at all. Now here's the thing. For those of us, for those of you who may be listening, and you may not have read my account in the book, where I come from in Nigeria, we do not tip. Yeah. And I just got here. It was been a couple of months.
Yeah.
The way we normally buy our meals, usually we don't tip. We do not tip. It's highly unusual for us. So I wasn't used to the practice at all. Being brand new in the United States at the time. So I just paid my bill and left, and this woman tapped me and said, you didn't add a tip. And I restated the obvious. Yes, I didn't add a tip. And she said, you must add a tip. I said, what do you mean you must add a tip? I know about tips. I know it's like, my feeling was, if you wanted, you tip. If you didn't want, you don't tip. But she said, no, you have to add a tip. Mm-hmm. And she insisted. In fact, I was getting so much perplexed and even angry at the same time that, what does this woman mean? I already paid my bill for the food I ate.
Yeah.
And she said, no, the restaurant workers get paid partly from the tips. You must add a tip. Mm-hmm. But I remember I actually had to add a tip. I paid with a credit card, so I had to add a tip to it, and I didn't understand at the time. Mm-hmm. But much later, when I began to understand the value of tipping and things like that, like you said, I try to tip as generously as I can. But that experience still surprised me that someone will run after somebody. So you were saying moments ago that if somebody asks you to add a tip, that may be a signal for you to say, you know what, I'm not giving you any tip.
Yeah.
If you were the one that lady ran after, you think you would have been able to escape without giving a tip?
Me now? Yeah, I would just drive away. But I mean, we have to look at the situation too, because you said you're just a couple months in the States.
Yeah.
So not fully used to like cultural stuff. So maybe you're like, since she was insisting, you're like, okay, I'll just do it just to leave.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I was put in that situation with the same experience, I probably would have tipped and then just left.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, should people even be demanding it? But I understand, and I don't want to exonerate. No,
It brings up a deeper issue with like the companies who pay their workers less because of
I guess that's it.
they
Yeah.
they expect the tips and all that, which sometimes can be better because they can get paid more and bring home more that day because of tips. But it's still, companies should pay the people at least the minimum wage.
Well, and I understand that, and I agree. I definitely agree that. But my thinking is that we're talking about the food service industry, food industry. So if if restaurants and the food suppliers, they're actually able to pay their people enough living wage, which I agree. I agree. Everybody should be able to be paid enough living wage. But I'm also thinking on the side of the restaurant owner. With all the expenses they have to pay. Right. You know, it's not just the food. Say you and I, when we go to a restaurant, we are only looking at the value of the meal we eat. Most of the time, unconsciously, that's what we think.
Yeah,
we'll say, okay, I've not eaten that much, not that I'm paying for this. We forget that from the meals we pay for, they pay maybe for the rent for the facility, all the utilities, they pay for that. They pay the salaries, even if it's a few cents from each meal. They pay the salaries of the people, even if it's not much. And they're supposed to pay themselves and also make a profit from it. So if you look at all of that, if I can be an advocate for the restaurant owner, can you imagine how much more expensive our food will be?
And I can get that because even when I worked at Toast, they said, I think a lot of people think who people own restaurants are like super rich, which a lot of them are not, for like at least the local spots, unless they own multiple locations and stuff. But they said, I think most restaurants, they said like 50% of restaurants close within the first 6 months. And then within the next year, I think another 20% will close.
Wow. So
I definitely get that. But it seems like it's like the bigger corporations are like usually paying like servers like $3-4 an hour. Or like places like Applebee's or things like that. They're like chain places that can definitely afford to like at least pay the minimum wage, you'd think.
Well, you're talking about chains like Applebee's, Outback, and things like that. I don't know if those ones, at least the way they operate, no, I think they are franchises. I don't know if those ones will be in the category of people who can pay a lot.
Not a lot. I'm not saying like pay a lot. Obviously, most people who work at restaurants are not like making like 6-7 figures or anything like that. But I would imagine they can, at minimum, be able to pay the minimum wage. You'd think.
Well,
I don't know. I haven't looked into that.
That actually brings up another question. I know there's minimum wage. It's different in every state. Does that apply to the restaurant industry for the food service?
I know there's like.
Do they get paid at least minimum wage?
Not for servers. That's why I think there's like, I don't remember the details, but there's rules around it. That's why most servers don't get paid the minimum wage. Like I know a lot of servers who like when they would work in the serving, they'd get like paid like $3 or $4 an hour, which is like way less than half the minimum wage in a lot of places.
States. Yeah, that's the thing. I think I can see it on both sides where. Yes, people need to be paid, whether they're restaurant servers, people who bus tables or something. They need to be paid enough living wage, I think, especially if that's what they are doing full time. But I can also see from the side of the restaurant, those who are not high class. There are some restaurants, there are some very high class restaurants that. And I think those ones actually may pay well.
Yeah, that's what those ones pay. I feel like I've heard. I'm not sure if it's true that usually those like smaller or local places will pay better than like a chain.
I remember in December when I was speaking in Las Vegas and I went out to dinner with some of the other instructors where we were teaching and it was. I don't want to name the restaurant, but it's it's one of these big high class restaurants in Las Vegas, and when the menu came, I was shocked at the prices. Yeah, most of them are at least 70 something, 80 something for the entrees.
Yeah.
The salad was like $30 something, and I was really surprised, and I thought, okay, the people were well dressed, even the environment, everything. So that's what you are paying for. I understand that in those environments, you are not just paying for the food. You are
paying for the quality.
Yeah, the quality, the service, and the environment. You are paying for all of that. So that makes sense. But in other places where people can argue the value of the food compared to what they are paying for the food, most of us expect that we'll have good value. We are receiving good value for what we are paying. So it's for me it's a battle in my mind. I can understand, and like the lady we are talking about in this door cam thing, I can almost put myself in her shoes and understand the frustrations. Maybe she I'm sure she definitely needed the money. If it's somebody that doesn't need it, I don't think she will have sweat the $8 tip.
Right.
Even if she actually drove for 45 minutes to the delivery. So I can understand that what will push people to to be asking for more tip. But personally,
I think it's just a sense of entitlement that
Yes.
rubs me the wrong way. And if she had probably approached it better to the person, maybe he would have thrown in a few more dollars. But the way, at least the article put it, it seemed like she was very kind of brash and angry. And
in fact,
expected. It's like, no, you have to do this.
Yes,
So,
yes. In fact, if at the end of it, the article, I think I remember reading that DoorDash, the company, made a statement, and they expect better, service from their people, and that person, this lady, is no longer working with them. They said something like that.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that just, and I will tell you this also. I don't think most people know or realize that they're actually on camera most of the time.
Oh,
I don't think she knew. I know she was. She knew she was talking through the speaker on the doorbell thing, but a lot of people may not actually be aware that if there's actually a camera that is capturing everything.
Especially in the moment, she's probably already angry, so she's not thinking about it.
You're not thinking about that. So those are the kind of things that you should just you think about. So I don't know. I think no matter what, if you are going to be eating out or you are going to be ordering out, definitely there is some service fees, tipping the people involved. For me, after that incident at a Thai restaurant 20-something years ago, I have made it a point of duty. It doesn't matter whether I get good service or not. I made it a point to make sure I tip. Even most times, there are times when the meal is, when 20% looks very small. 20% may be like, might be, I don't know.
Even if you think about it, if you're eating by yourself, especially, like, you spend maybe $20. 20% of that would be like $4.
$4,
so that's not that much anyway.
No, it's not. It's not. So those are the things that I was thinking about, and I was wondering, once again, our listeners, if you can leave us some comments behind. What do you do? What do you do? Do you tip very well? Does it depend on service? Like, I remember one of your brothers, Daniel, I know he jokes about it.
Yeah.
About, what does he say about tipping? I think something about the water service.
Oh, it's a joke. He says the faster they refill the water, that's like how good the restaurant is or something.
Exactly. So he looks at the quality of the restaurant, the service, by how quickly they refill his glass of water. So if his glass of water is sitting there empty for too long, I think that's not a good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly a joke. Which,
Yeah, I know it's a joke, but should even the service, the quality of service, should that play into how much you tip, or if you tip at all, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think it should, because I would imagine the whole reason tipping was invented is to give someone extra for based on what they've accomplished or what they've done, and that just, I feel like, is more motivation if you work somewhere to give someone as best service as you can too. So, but I actually have a question too. What is a situation where you wouldn't tip, if there is any? Like, what would have to happen that you would be like, no, I'm not leaving a tip?
If and I'm trying to think very hard because I've not been in this situation before.
Yeah.
I think if the waiter or waitress, if they are overtly very rude, if they are very, very rude, and it's obvious, not just I'm not making this up, it's like, or it's not just my own perception, it's clear to almost everyone around that this person is being rude, I don't think I will leave a tip.
Yeah. I probably would be in the same boat, but also if that happens, and then like almost the same thing with this woman, that happens and they also still expect a tip, like that sense of entitlement, I think, is what will rub me the wrong way even more, and then I'll be like, no. Yeah. So,
well, here's the thing, is because I think when the guy paid for the meal, he already added the $8 tip. So the person who is delivering the food already saw the tip amount even while she was coming. That's different. In most restaurants, most times they don't know the amount of tip because they bring your check. If you pay with a card, it's after they bring it that you add the tip. So they may not see the tip until after you're gone, most of the time. But in this case, no, they see the tip. So she's not happy with it, and then she's demanding more. Now, I agree with you. That sense of entitlement that no, this is it. Honestly, I don't mind if she had tried to explain, and even if you take a look at the video, I don't think it was that heated between them. I don't think I wouldn't say she's rude in the way she was saying it.
I haven't seen the video.
All she was saying is that he said, I don't think you know how far. And she was trying to say it nicely. She said, I don't think you know how far your house is from the restaurant. And she was saying that if you know how far it is, that the tip will have been more than this. And she was saying something like that. But it's still kind of strange. Now, you were talking about because it's the norm. I think maybe it's the norm in Western cultures.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
In Western Europe and in the United States, for example. When I was doing the research for Nothing Higher, I think I found out that actually tipping is discouraged in Japan.
Yeah, I know there's like some Asian countries.
Yes. They
actually like don't even like when you tip.
Yeah, they don't
like
like
seen
it.
as, I think, disrespectful sometimes.
Yes, it's seen as being disrespectful, like looking down on people. So they don't. So that's another thing. You have to understand the culture in which it is. But here in North America, we we love tips, and we want to we want to give tips. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else we want to hit before we end here?
Well, I think that's it. I just it was just a strange thing for me when I saw that news article. It brought up all these questions that I thought we should discuss it, and it took me back 20-something years ago when the person chased me down to add a tip. And once again, I just want to know. I know I've said this twice already. To our listeners, leave us a comment. What do you do? What's your usual practice? Have you seen any unusual instances that you would not add a tip, or unusual level of service that made you give much more than the usual tip? What are your experiences?
Yeah, and
Share
I'll
them with
pose
us.
the same question to them: is what's a situation in which you wouldn't tip if you want to leave a comment on that as well. Well, guys, this has been another episode of Crisp the Podcast. As always, leave a rate and comment or review on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Leave a comment on YouTube and subscribe. And we'll see you guys later.
See you next time.